Hey Adrian, how are you? How's it going? We're going to be starting in just a little bit. I just saw you wanted to say hello real quick.
Can you hear me out? There's a lifetime in front of me. But when my time runs out, I wanna feel you standing next to me. Baby, I knew this time would arrive. I knew this time would come. Ever since I first looked in your eyes, I said you're the one. Oh my God, oh my God, tell me I'm the one. Oh my God, oh my God. I see the dust fill the twilight sky. I feel the warmth of your hand in mine. It's in the air, it's in the air, it's in the air we breathe. It's all around us now. And when the lights come down, I wanna feel you standing next to me. And can you hear me out? There's a lifetime in front of me.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today to another Live and Invest in Costa Rica today. I'm very excited today because we have a very special colleague that's going to be helping us navigating some of the information on how to move and how to do the little details that we normally don't get to think about when we're thinking about moving to another country. We think about the property, we think about the plane tickets and so on, but there are some minor details that sometimes we skip. So she's going to be here with us, clearing up some of this information, sharing with us what it is that it takes for us to move to Costa Rica. So Sarah from RelocateNow is going to be joining us today. But before we go into that, I want to share a little information and some of the advancements that we've had. I know, if you've seen some of the previous meetings, we've had the financing specialist visiting us. So if you are looking for financing options, we do have some financing options available for this and for any projects. We do have several different options. So invite us to visit our website at liveandinvest.com, where you can find some of this information. We'll provide the link for you guys to be able to visit us. Within this project, you're going to see the previous recordings about the lawyer on how to work on your visas, how to get the financing, and some of the projects that we have available. So our goal with Live and Invest is to provide you with all the tools and information that you may need to go ahead and make an informed decision when moving into the Costa Rican culture. But I would like to share before we welcome our colleague today. I want to go ahead and share a little video here with you guys. Hold on one second. All of this projects and all this information is being brought to you by one of our preferred projects, and currently the ones who are sharing our screen is our project Forest. Forest is a project that we are developing in Punta Leona. This project is in its initial stages, about 44 units. I know some of you have probably seen some of this footage before, but this project has a very special entrance option right now for anybody that's looking into investing into the country. With only $5,000, you can separate your lot. There's only 44 units. And if you're familiar or not with Punta Leona, I invite you to do a little research to this area. You can only be part of this community if you are a member, and the memberships actually come along with the purchase. Along with the purchase, we are giving you some incentives that come along with closing fees. We're going to be covering some of the closing fees, and we do have other incentives for furniture and so on. So we invite you to look into this magnificent project that we have going on in Punta Leona. It is called Forest. Again, only 44 units out of those. There's 2 that are already being negotiated under contract, so a very limited space and availability. So if you're interested, feel free to write us a message directly, and we'll love to give you more information about the space and how you can get into these units. The delivery is going to be in about 12 to 16 months. So the advantage is that you get to put in your 5,000, separate your lot, and in about 12 to 18 months, you'll have that time to go ahead and place your other 30%. We'll finance you the other 70%. So for more information, again, write us directly a message, and we'll love to share more about this project. Okay, but with no more preamble, now I see Sarah here with us from RelocateNow. I'm very excited to be sharing screen with you because we've been following you for a little while. We've seen what you've done, and we see the work that you do, which is take people, guide them through this challenging process of relocating to Costa Rica. So I want to go ahead and give you the open mic. Feel free to go ahead and start.
Perfect.
Very good.
Excellent.
And welcome, and thank you for joining us today. We're very excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with everybody, or hopefully educate, some people on the relocation, process. Looks like definitely a beautiful project that you were showing everybody. Actually, not too far from where I live. So we could definitely talk a little bit about areas too. But yeah, so I have a little PowerPoint. I figured today it would be good to give people just some kind of relocation basics. I noticed that whenever I chat with people, I'll point out, let's say, just some aspects of the relocation, and they're like, oh, I didn't think of that, or oh, never thought of that either. So I guess in today's meeting, I'd love for hopefully something to come to light that maybe you didn't think of before that can help you be a little bit prepared in the future. Can you guys hear me? Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Okay, can you all see this okay? Perfect. Okay.
Yes.
So first, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about me, so that way, you're like, oh, well, who is this lady up here talking to me about relocation? And give you guys a little bit of my own background, my own experience here. So I am I started this company, Relocate Now. I started doing it very unofficially, years before, but we've been about 5.5 years officially in business. And what we do is help people with the actual move and the process. When I moved, I definitely wish I had somebody to guide me through it. I moved and I made a lot of mistakes, pretty much all the mistakes in the book that you probably could have made. So a lot of what we do is just helping other people not make common mistakes, help people save money, help people make an actual life step-by-step plan that breaks it down and just makes it a little bit more realistic of like oh, I can do this, or this isn't impossible, or I'm not crazy. Sometimes when people, you might talk to others about potentially relocating to another country, they might look at you like you're have just lost your mind. So, we're here to tell you that no, other people do it too. You've not lost your mind. Perfectly normal, I guess, whether you're looking to live or invest in another country. And there's actually a ton of people that do that. So, oh no. Well, there's not some there. I don't know where all my pictures went. Sorry about that. I had some fun pictures to show you, just to tell you a little bit about my story. So I moved here when I was 23. So that was over 10 years ago. Moved in 2015. I moved with 2 suitcases. I was a social worker before. And I was just like, I'm not going to sit in an office and waste away until I die. So I decided I would try moving to another country. I had some other countries in mind. I thought about Australia. I thought about a few other options, and I decided on Costa Rica. I always say kind of by chance, but I can say I stayed for a lot of different reasons. So I ended up here because I had some friends that were just talking about how magical and amazing it is. And so I said, well, that sounds good to me. So I just packed up 2 suitcases. I Googled Costa Rica. I saw a picture of a white sand beach, and I said, okie dokie, I'm on my way. So I kind of planned my move within 2 months, quit my job, got rid of my apartment, sold my car, packed my life into 2 suitcases, and then just moved to a foreign country. Now, I wouldn't do it that way again. So too bad these pictures didn't show up. Sorry about that. Oh, here. Well, now we can see a little bit. Can you guys see them here at least? Well, some of these are pretty good. So here's the beginning years. I got pregnant a year after I moved, became a single parent. So now I'm raising this baby in this foreign country. There she is. She's 8 now. So just to give you some perspective, now she's an 8-year-old. She's a big girl. She's got an attitude. And since then, so just kind of, I don't know, I feel like I grew up into adulthood in the country. And I started a YouTube channel for fun. So that kind of brings me to that last aspect. So I started a YouTube channel for fun while my daughter was in diapers. I never thought anyone was ever going to watch it. I don't know, I had 100 subscribers, when I got 300 subscribers, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe there's so many people watching this. And it's grown a lot. So it turned into a business. So prior to COVID, people would ask, oh, how do I move? Or you did this. I want to know how I can do it too. And I already had full-time work, working on my computer. So I wasn't really looking for another job. Let's put it that way. I was already kind of full. And then, but I did kind of do these phone calls, per hour. And I would talk to people and I realized, wow, all these people have a lot of the same questions. So I started kind of consulting that way. And then when COVID happened, it was kind of the perfect storm that, of course, I got an influx of messages and emails of just, Sarah, help me, I need to get out of here. So that's how I ended up in this field. So it was kind of, I don't know, to call it by accident, but by something that I really enjoyed doing. So I love sharing about Costa Rica. I loved assisting people in the transition, the logistics. I'm very type A, but what I really love, I just kind of have the title here, it's just kind of like you're redesigning your life through your move. So I'm going to talk to you today more about the logistics, but the part that really does get me very excited when working with people is that like designing of your life and like choosing something different for yourself, just like I did, for 10 years ago. So sorry if that was long-winded, but I did want to at least tell you a little bit about my background, my experience, and how I kind of got into, helping people. And I do have a team. So I have 3 other employees and they're amazing. I wouldn't be able to do anything that I do without them. Another huge part of just in general is we've made a lot of relationships in the country and I work with people who have my same ethics. And so that's been something that I'm always excited to share my other professional relationships that I've made, with the clients that we work with too. Because when you move to another country, it is really about those personal connections that you can make and really working with the right people for sure. Okay, so I will now want to talk to you guys, I guess, just key logistics and tips. So I don't know if anyone has something to write. You can jot some of these down, or if you got a notebook near you, if you got a pen, or if you can jot some of them down on your phone. I just want to go through some of the major logistics that I guess you could apply to moving to Costa Rica, or really any country, and maybe just some of my tips on each one, as you're thinking about this. So number one would be really choosing your area. So, and now we can talk about some of the mistakes I made. Actually, I didn't ask how long do I have. I just want to make sure I'm also respectful of time.
You're good. You're good. take your time. I think with what we mapped out, you should be perfectly fine.
Okay, just let me know if you're like, Sarah, it's time to stop.
I'll flag you. Don't worry, you're good.
Okay. Okay. Okay, first choosing your area. So that was the first mistake that I made. I did not, actually not one of the first, but one of the many. One of the many mistakes that I made is I did not choose the right area for myself when I first moved to Costa Rica. So when I moved, again, I was just, my friends told me it was great. And I said, cool, I'm going to come stay with you guys. Well, they live 30 minutes up a mountain walking. We didn't have a car. I remember walking in the dark up there and it was getting dark and I thought I was going to get eaten by a jaguar. And I was just like, what am I doing? You know, wandering around in this jungle and I'm hot and I'm sweaty and I don't know where I am. Am I getting lost? So choosing your area is very important. So I would say things that you should really consider in an area. And a lot of this is during your research phase. So maybe some of you are coming down on scouting trips, you're checking out different areas. So what you really want to think about in an area and choosing it is, you know, how does this area fit your lifestyle? How does it fit your budget? That's another big one. So really think about, you know, when you're living in Costa Rica, what is that going to look like for you day to day? Like, what are your hobbies? Are there new hobbies that you want to, you know, pick up? Sometimes you might design some like, you know, I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And then I do see sometimes people might move down and you might just need some time to settle in. Maybe come down and ease yourself into it as well. But really think about how you realistically imagine your day-to-day living in Costa Rica. And then just as you're thinking of areas, make sure that these areas are lining up to that. So thinking about that as well, you want to think about, okay, budget and cost of living. I've done some cost of living webinars and budgeting. Just try to map out your biggest expenses. That would be my biggest tip there. Your rental, if you're renting. Of course, if you're going to purchase the health insurance. Think about how far do you want to be from an international airport? You know, some people say, oh, I want to be within an hour. But then as we're talking, I'm like, I really think you're going to like this other place a lot better, but it's 3 hours. And I'm like, well, how often are you going to be traveling? Oh, twice a year. Okay, well, if you're going to be traveling out of the country twice a year, do you have to be within an hour? Like, if that's, so really think about too, what's a deal breaker? What's not a deal breaker? You know, maybe what's I would like to have versus, okay, no, this is a must. Sometimes for some people, climate is a must. So they say, oh, I don't want to be by the beach. When I do work with a lot of people, some people, they imagine moving to Costa Rica, they want to live by the beach. Other people say, no, that's not. I don't want to be in that climate for whatever reason. Or I have people that say, no, my dream of moving to Costa Rica is I want to be by that beach. When I wake up and I want to see the beautiful water and go take my walks and take my dogs to go play or whatever that might be. So think about the climate that you're looking for, the distance to the airport, the type of community, you know, how much of a population do you want there to be in a town? Really, once you get out of the main capital city, everything's kind of a small town when you're comparing it to, let's say, a lot of towns in North America. So when you get to the beach, these areas I would consider a little bit more rural, maybe. But, you know, I'm sure everyone's from different places, so we all have our different definitions. That's why it's really important for you also to come see things for yourself as well. Think about if you're going to have a vehicle or not. That's going to affect where you might want to live. If you're a family, you have kids and your kids are going to go into schools, make sure that there's a proper private school that's going to be available, you know, in that area. So that's what I would say one of the early logistics that you should really be thinking about is choosing an area that's going to be the best fit for you. Because, you know, if you come down, sometimes I've seen people choose an area based on a house that they found, and or either like, oh, but look at this house there. Like, check this out. Look what I found. It's in a great price. And And I'm looking at it. I'm like, this area though is like nothing that you've asked for. Like, I think you're going to be miserable in this particular area. So, you know, those are important things. Like when you're looking at real estate, you know, also really think about that area, not just the property that you're looking at too. Let's see another thing. So we have area, residency. So we're just a long-term, being able to be in the country long-term. This is another mistake that I made. So as you can see, I've made mistakes in most of these logistics already, and you'll hear them. If you're going to move to, I think, any foreign country, and again, all this stuff applies for areas, any foreign country you're thinking about. So here, residency or long-term capabilities of living somewhere, anywhere. When I moved to Costa Rica, again, I was kind of young and dumb. I didn't know anything about the residency categories. I had no idea. I didn't know that I couldn't legally work in the country. I was just like, okay, I'm moving to Costa Rica. I would have been that person on Facebook that everyone yelled at, told me to get offline and don't come down or whatever it would be because I was ignorant. But But think about your long-term options. So obviously there's a few different residency categories. So but my advice would just be, if you're really planning to put roots down here in Costa Rica, make sure that you're able to do that long term. So one, residency category, there's residency categories, and then there's visas. So a visa is like your tourist visa. So maybe if some of you have been down before, come into Costa Rica, they gave you a little stamp on your passport. They might have asked you when you're leaving, where you're staying, that was your tourist visa. So you can get a tourist visa for up to 180 days. And then if you want, there's a digital nomad visa. So the digital nomad visa, you can get up for 2 years. So you'd have to show an income of at least 3,000 US dollars for the last 12 months. If you're a single person applying, if you're a family, then you'll have to show an income of at least 4,000 US dollars for the last 12 months. And they're looking at your bank statements. So this is just like your net income that's, hitting your account each month. But remember, so digital nomad visa is a visa. It's not a residency category. So that's where I see some people get confused. Like being on your tourist visa, being on your digital nomad doesn't make you a legal Costa Rican resident, but it's just a status. Now, if you want to be a resident in Costa Rica, some people have come down on their pensions, or maybe, you have Social Security or a lifelong pension of at least 1,000 US dollars per month. That's possible. Another popular one, well, if you're going to buy a property, the investor. So that's a really good option. We've had a lot of people file with that as well. If you invest at least 150,000 US dollars in Costa Rica, then that can apply you for that residency category. You can actually include a car in that investment too, which is pretty cool. Now you can't sell that car, you can't buy the investment and then sell it. Again, if we got into all the nuts and bolts of it, then it would, we'd be here for a very long time. Then I definitely get off. But I'm just going to give you kind of a basic summary. So the investment, 150,000, that's another great way to get residency. And there's another one called rentista. So you have to show an income, like a irrevocable income of $2,500 per month for 24 months. Really, you want to have it for 48, and it can't be from a job. So it cannot be from a job. It could be from like an annuity, even a 401k. I have some people who've been on Social Security disability that's maybe not lifelong, but they have it for 5 years, let's say. And if it's of at least that amount, then it counts. So those could be some examples. What some people are doing now are, let's say in their home country, if they're renting out their homes and the lease is of at least 2,500 US dollars per month for 2 years, and they can do that. And I do want to clear up one thing, because you're going to see some information online. You'll see in the past, you used to be able to put 60,000 US dollars into an account, like into like a CD in Costa Rica. And then the bank would issue a letter stating that they're giving you $2,500 per month for 24 months. And people were filing that way. You can't do it that way anymore. So Costa Rica, I would say it was like a year and a half or 2 years ago, they just kind of determined that we weren't really investing anything, because rentista means small investor. But I guess Costa Rica magically woke up one day and was like, hey, that's not an investment. You're just having your own money returned to you. Wow. So they don't allow you to do that anymore. But you're still going to, if you're doing any kind of research online in Costa Rica, you're probably going to see that come up. So I didn't want you guys to be like, well, why didn't Sarah tell us about that? That sounds like an easy out. So a lot of people did used to do that. But I would say, since that hasn't been available, a lot of people are going the investor route if they don't already have like that lifelong pension. So those are the residency. The other residency categories would be having a child. So that's how I got residency. Now I would have been able to do the investor, with time. If you get married to a Costa Rican, that's another way to get residency too. And then just keep in mind, you'll be a temporary resident for for the 2 to 3 year mark. And we're at the 3rd year, you can then change your status to become a permanent resident. And so you can't work in Costa Rica as a temporary resident, but you can always legally work online. So even if you're a tourist, even if you're a digital nomad, even if you're temporary, one of these temporary residency categories, you can always work online as an income. Like that's what I ended up doing. I worked for a tax company, lots of different things, freelance stuff. So that's okay to do. So think about having a long-term plan. It's not to say, so I do always also work with people that have either never been to Costa Rica or they've been on one trip and they want to come down and just see, if they even like being here. If that's the case, then, honestly, residency is a time commitment. It's a financial commitment. It's quite the there's requirements, there's hoops, it's a waiting game of paperwork, things like that. So I would say it's okay to wait a little bit until you're sure that you want to be in Costa Rica long-term and then file. But I also don't think it's a good idea to come down and do what maybe you've read online. If you have any called a border run, you don't want to be doing those indefinitely. You're going to meet that one person in Costa Rica that says, well, I've been doing border runs for 20 years and I've never had a problem. I don't encourage that. I think it's okay to maybe do it temporarily as you're evaluating if you want to be here long term. But then once you know, if you're like, no, I want to be in Costa Rica long term, go ahead and like actually pursue that residency category because you don't want to be relying on border runs forever. It's not a stable status. I mean, I don't think they're going to change the length of the tourist visa anytime soon, especially since they lengthened it from 90 days to 180. But for example, when COVID happened and the borders closed, even people who owned properties who didn't have their residency couldn't come into the country. So, as a tourist, you don't really have rights. You don't have like those rights to really be in Costa Rica. You're just a tourist. So I would say if you want to be long-term, think about definitely, filing and make sure that you do have a path to file sometime in the near future after you make that decision. So again, residency is complicated. I could get into it, but another topic. So, where to live, can you be a long-term resident? Home rentals. It's another big logistic. I would just say my major tip here is don't ever pay ahead on rent. Don't do it. We always tell our clients, don't do it. Don't pay months ahead on rent on anything. Obviously you guys are interested in investing. Even I've had clients who come down and they do intend to purchase right away. Sometimes the purchase process just takes time. I bought 2 lots. I've sold a property. It just takes a little bit of time. There's due diligence. So even if you come down like day one of arriving for your move, you're still probably going to need to rent, even if you're already hitting the ground looking for that property fast. Unless you've like bought the property, gone home, done things, closed on the property, finished up your things that you were doing in your home country, then move down directly into that property, you might need a home rental. So that's why I would say my biggest tip on that would be, not paying ahead on any rent. Just know that contracts here are very kind of loosey-goosey. They don't really have any legal standing. So I wouldn't put a deposit down that you're not willing to lose. In most cases, you're going to get it back. You shouldn't have any issues. Like, there's amazing landlords. Like we've had a lot of clients who've had a lot of really amazing experiences, like even landlords that became like family members to them. So, I mean, Costa Ricans are super warm and kind and friendly and amazing, but occasionally, just like anywhere in the world, you can have, that experience that maybe an owner is kind of fighting you on giving your deposit back because maybe they spent it, maybe it's gone, or the problem with paying ahead is, okay, let's say you say, okay, I'm going to pay 6 months in advance so I can get a really good deal on this place. But then in month 2, the refrigerator breaks, the roof is leaking, there's issues coming up with the house, and now you have no leverage. In the past, when I was renting, I would say, okay, let's say if the owner wasn't too responsive with repairs, I'd say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and repair it. I'll send you the receipts and we'll just take it out my next month rent just to get things done and stay comfortable. But if you've paid ahead of time, then you don't have that leverage. So that would be one of my tips there too. And I could go on about housing a while too. Just trying to choose somewhere that you're going to feel really comfortable. Just remember you're moving to a whole nother country. Although it's very exciting, it can also be a little bit stressful. So it couldn't hurt. I've had some clients, they might splurge a little bit on their first few months of rent just to make sure that they're like extra comfortable as they're settling in, as they're adjusting, as they're figuring out a new language, a new culture, a new routine, just kind of a new life. So just make sure, making sure that your first rental, I guess, in the meantime is a good quality one that's going to help definitely ease that transition too. And I would say we can find a lot of furnished rentals too. So, and a lot of real estate is already furnished. So, or there's great furniture in Costa Rica. So we'll talk about shipping, but I don't think there's really need to bring very much. There's lots of things here, to be honest. And that's better suited for the climate. I don't know. Do you want, we'll do a Q&A at the end, right?
Yes. But I do have a couple of questions coming along, so I guess I just want to let you finish your portion. And we wanted to go in with a couple of very interesting questions we've been collecting along the way with people that are interested. So feel free, just let me know when you're ready.
Okay. Okay. So then we'll speed up a little. So we got, like I said, your area, choosing your area, your long-term rental search. Even a long-term rental could be a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. So it doesn't have to be a year. I wouldn't commit a year to something sight unseen either. The long-term rental search, knowing where you want to live, your long-term options, your packing. So figuring out what do you want to bring? What do you want to leave at home? What's suitable to even come down here with? You know, coming here on a scouting trip can really help you determine that too. I'll usually have our clients go to different stores. Like I'll be like, okay, check out these stores and see what they have. If it's just your average coffee maker, you don't need to bring that down with you. But if you have like a special Vitamix or like some specialty, you know, appliances, I have a little packing list I can send you to. If you're gonna send out any stuff after this meeting, I can send you all some PDFs. I got lots of PDFs and spreadsheets. But I have a little sample packing list. But you can find a lot of things here. And if you can't, I also do have a shipping company that we ship things down from Miami for $6.80 a pound. So if I personally can't find something, then I just ship it too. And it usually gets here within like a week to 2 weeks. Packing, shipping. Majority of people don't ship. Even I work with an amazing customs broker and he'll even be like, don't ship. And that's his job, is to get people to ship, right? And I like him because he's honest. You can, what I like to do with every logistic, and I guess you guys thinking of this too, always get all the full information before you make a decision. So what I like to do is when someone's thinking about shipping, I like to think, okay, well, what are you trying to ship? How much is that going to cost? Are the items suitable for down here? The majority of clients who have shipped usually will ship whenever they've made a real estate purchase. So I don't think I've had anyone like really ship unless they bought property. Because other than that, like I said, most of the places are furnished. You don't want to be lugging your stuff all around. And kind of the more you live in Costa Rica, you might be like, man, I didn't need half of this stuff. That's another thing that I've had clients tell me is they wish they didn't ship as much as they did. They thought they were going to become carpenters. They brought all the woodworking stuff down. They haven't touched it since it came. So I have a really good downsizing webinar that like a thing that I did too. But I would say really get rid of everything that you can. If you need to ship, it could be worth getting a quote. And I'm not saying like get rid of your things that are very sentimental. You might have family heirlooms. I get that. It could be worth putting some things in storage too and coming back to it. So like maybe kind of like the residency every 3 to 6 months, like, okay, how am I feeling about this? You might go back to that storage unit with a whole new kind of perspective whenever you go back to look at all that stuff after living in Costa Rica. You're gonna be like, oh man, yeah, all this half of stuff over here, I can't bring down there. I'm not gonna use it. So I don't know, it's kind of, again, we're looking for that balance. I'm not saying get rid of all of your earthly possessions unless you really want to and come down with 2 suitcases like I did. But you also don't have to ship all of everything that you own down either in a container and spend a bunch of money because those can be 10, 15, $20,000 shipping a container because all your items are going to be import taxed unless you qualify for that law, but you have to get your residency, you have to apply for residency before this July. That's a whole nother law thing. Car purchase. Cars are going to be more expensive in Costa Rica. I will say, I think the car prices went up more in North America over the last few years too. But I will say cars in Costa Rica are still probably a bit more pricey. If you buy something old, you're going to be at the mechanical lot. My first car ever was a 1999 Suzuki Grand Vitara. I was at that mechanical lot. It was an automatic. When I sold that thing, it was a manual. I mean, the whole transmission went out. I mean, it was, I think it's still going apparently. I know who bought it and I talked to him a few weeks ago and he's like, I still got the car. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So if you can, and if you're gonna purchase, please buy newer. Don't buy someone's car that's been down on the bumpy roads up the mountains and I'd sell you my car for, $12,000 and that was a great deal. You just might end up in the mechanic quite a bit. As far as financing, I do know one dealership that offers financing, but it's pretty pricey. I think they offer financing to non-residents. So most people are going to buy cars with cash. I would say my favorite brands are Toyota and Suzuki. Those are what I have. I actually have some rental cars. I do a lot of things. I'm tired. But even the rental cars that I choose are Toyota and Suzuki only, basically. Toyota and Suzuki Jimmys. I've had a Toyota Hilux and a Toyota Yaris if you want a sedan. Suzuki Grand Vitaras are great. So those have been my favorite ones. The parts are cheap. Mechanics know how to work on them. If you do buy newer, you're just going to have less issues. It's better. But if you don't have the budget for, let's say, a brand new car, well, I guess when we say brand new, like maybe I'll give you some examples. So I got a 2024 Suzuki Grand Vitara as a rental, and it was $25,000. I had another one, Suzuki Grand Vitara, that was imported from Panama. It was a 2015, but it was a one-owner vehicle, and that was $17,000. Just giving you guys some price points, and that's a very good, reliable car. The Yaris, I think, was 12 or 13. And brand new Jimny, it was about 35, 36,000. So just to give you some car prices. So I'm not saying you have to spend $100,000 for a good car. It could be the mid 30s and below. Once you start at 12, when you're getting 10, you know, I have some people, oh, I only have 10K and I want a 4x4. And then you'll probably end up with a car that's kind of old and it's not going to work really well. So just to give you guys some car prices. And yeah, you want to make sure that that process is done correctly. It's with the lawyer. I mean, we could get into escrow accounts and all that, but we don't want to do all that. But car purchase, again, like when people make mistakes, like when moving anywhere, it's usually mistakes that have to do with money, right? So we want to make sure that you don't make any big money mistakes. Don't make big money life mistakes for your move. Otherwise, it's like everything else usually doesn't hurt so bad. So you're like, okay. So yeah, we don't want to make mistakes with our rental, with our real estate, with our cars. Nothing like that. Bringing pets, they will do that quick. A lot of people, most people we work with bring pets. So if you have pets, don't worry, very pet friendly country. A lot of rentals are very pet friendly. Even a lot of like, you know, real estate purchase communities are very pet friendly. Lots of great vets. I think there's a really good selection of pet foods, pet care, pet medication. I think it's a great place for pets. I've had 3 dogs and a cat. I used to have horses. So you can definitely bring your pets. Now the airlines are usually the pain in the tush for that, but it's possible to bring them down. Usually when the dogs are in cargo, that's when it gets a little bit more complicated, just because not every airline does that. Costa Rica does have some paperwork, that health certificate that you have to get done within the 10 to 14 day mark prior to arrival, but you can bring your pets. There's even a guy who drives them down in a van if you want, because some people are like, no, I'm not putting my dog in cargo for whatever reason, and I respect that. So there's other options. There's private flights. I mean, those are probably $7,000 to $8,000 that when people do like a group who do the private flight together. But the guy who drives them down is $2,000. Or if you can get with Alaska Airlines, $100 to get your pet down here. So there's some options. There's some other cheap, there's a wide range of financial options that getting the pets down. For people to bring their pets. Then we have budgeting. Again, like maybe I can also send you the link to my budgeting webinar. Maybe you can share it. It's just to help people create a realistic budget for like any area that they're looking at. So that's a really important one. Some people say, okay, Costa Rica is the most, I guess, expensive country in Central America. But I think there's still like to have the lifestyle that I personally have here. I think if I were to have this same lifestyle in North America, I think I'd be paying a lot more personally. I'm from like the Washington, D.C., but I lived in Harrisonburg. I graduated from JMU down there. So I lived outside of the city 2 hours, and I think the cost of living was good there. So I think some things are more expensive here, but then a lot of things are cheaper. So like you're getting your hair done, getting your nails done, taking care of your pets, like the labor, like there's so many things that are definitely cheaper that I think kind of offset those things that are a little bit more expensive. I find my insurance is cheaper. No, again, food, it depends how you shop. You know, don't just reach for the imported brands that you're used to. So you kind of have to be smart, learn how to shop, where to shop. And so definitely expect to spend a little bit more in your first few months of your move until you definitely do kind of get the hang of things. But I think you can, I always tell people Costa Rica is as expensive as you want to make it. If you want to make it cheap, you can live on the cheap. If you want to make it real expensive, you can make it real expensive. So it's just going to depend on your lifestyle and those things. Banking. Are these everyone in here US or mostly USA?
US and Canada.
Okay. If you're in the USA, open up a Charles Schwab account. They have an investor checking account. Best bank to use for down here. No, there's no branches down here, but they're going to refund your ATM fees. We can make wire transfers very easily. So for example, I have a client who texted me today saying they have a small credit union in the States and they're trying to buy this property down here and they're not able to wire the funds. And I'm like, did you guys open the Charles Schwab like I told you to? And they were like, no. And I was like, well, so Charles Schwab all the way. But definitely open up that account because making wire transfers is $15 versus the 40 plus. Some banks require you to go into the branch. And if you're in Costa Rica and you're like, but I'm trying to buy this car, I can't go into my branch back in Florida or wherever, so definitely do that before you move. You can open up an account in Costa Rica. Some banks will let you, some may not, depending on your residency status. There's going to be some limitations. It's not something you have to rush down and do to exist in the country. If you want to pay your electricity, you can pay it at the store. If you want to pay your internet, you can pay it at the store. So it's nice to have a bank account, but it's not like, oh my gosh, we need to do this ASAP, or we're not going to be able to function. You'll be fine. Insurance. Okay, so we'll just do insurance and medical, and that's it. Those were it. So little rundown of insurance. We have home insurance, car insurance, health insurance. Home insurance, I think, is pretty affordable. Okay, I'd like to give people like actual numbers. So I built a house that I ended up selling, and I had insurance on it, but it was on Airbnb, and it was probably worth over $300,000. And I think I was paying 70 something dollars per month for insurance because it was on Airbnb. Without it being on Airbnb, because we wanted extra liability, I want to say it was around 40 or something a month. I find the home insurance to be very affordable. It's almost like, well, why wouldn't I just get it? So I think it's worth getting. Car insurance, super affordable. Actually, we just paid, for the rentals. Okay, for example, the Jimny. I told you that car was for 36,000 or so. It was $900 for the year divided by 12, so okay, $75 per month. That's a little bit on the higher end. It's like a more expensive car, but you could expect to pay. I had another car that I have that was about 25,000, and that one I paid $46 a month. So it was $560 for the whole year. So just to give you some prices, I think auto insurance is really affordable. The deductible I think is $600. That covers everything, all the things, robbery, all the stuff. Health insurance can vary, so that's where gets a little tricky. I have group meetings with our clients every week on Zoom, and it's where we always get stuck on the topic of health insurance. It's going to be such a little bit of everything. If you have Medicaid, you might use some of that, or Medicare. If you might pay out of pocket, you might use some insurance down here. It's a fun one. So the best for insurance is definitely talk to a broker or talk to someone here and explain your personal situation. And then there's always ways to kind of finagle and mix and match to kind of find something that makes you feel like you're covered, ideally without breaking the bank. And then Costa Rica does have its universal healthcare system. So it's called the Caja. So through the Caja, you can, but I wouldn't rely on it. I would rely on it in life or death situations, totally. Like if I was ever in a true medical emergency that my life depended on it, I could go to a public hospital. I would say most areas of the country, they're pretty well equipped. Of course, there's different levels of these public hospitals and how well equipped they are. And I think the doctors are great. You can get amazing care. You'll be very well taken care of. I also do have private insurance. Now, in non-emergency instances, you may not want to rely on the Caja. So, like if I needed an organ transplant, I'd be on that waiting list for the rest of my life. So, that's why we want to have a mix there, and you want to have some backups. I think that's it. There's no renter's insurance. People ask me that a lot, but you can insure very specific parts of property. If you have a very expensive camera, for example, you can insure that camera, but you can't there's no renter's insurance. Car, health, home. And that's it. Those are the major logistics. And then of course there's a way that you need to do everything, and that you gotta do it all in a certain order so it's not overwhelming. I think 6 months is a really good timeline for people to work on actual logistics that you have actionable steps on. But we do work with people that are a year and a half, 2 years prior from their move. That when you're that far out, it's more just kind of like market research. You're coming on trips, you're kind of refining your budget, you're figuring out your area. Maybe you're poking around the internet looking at rentals or properties. So I would say 3 months is a little squished. I've met people in a matter of a week. That's tiring. I've had people be like, Sarah, I'm coming on Monday. And I'm like, so that's not ideal, but those are the main logistics that you should definitely be thinking about. But it is possible. It might sound overwhelming, but it is doable.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, thank you very much. I know that if I was to allow you to talk, we'll have a few hour conversation. I know that it was a hard feat to summarize all of this information in just a few slides. And but thank you very much. We want to begin with thanking you for spending that time with us and sharing some of this information. Most of the questions that I have for you, you answered, which has been great. But I wanted to, I guess, bring in just to be sure that everyone got this information. So you were saying that particular time frame, and I know you just mentioned it. Ideal is about what, 6 months for anybody looking to move into Costa Rica. What do you think those 6 months will be spent on? Because I know that we have the discovery, come and check it out, but how would you lay out that time frame for those 6 months on priorities? What should they start looking at during those 6 months?
Yeah, I have a whole spreadsheet for that.
Okay.
Let me think about my spreadsheet. Like I have like this whole thing that month 1, month 2, month 3. Okay. So I say 6 months too, because let's say if you want to file residency before you move, like I have some people, they're like, no, I want to, the day I move in to Costa Rica, I'm gonna have all my paperwork in hand. I want to sign my application, do my fingerprinting appointment, file. So those papers can't be more than 6 months old. So like that's a timing thing. So if you get them together too early in your move, they have to be apostilled. So think about your residency paperwork and when you can get the paperwork prior to your move, but not so far ahead of time that now they're expired by the time you actually move. So you want to think about residency paperwork. Your pet stuff is kind of done towards the end, but early on, you should think about what airline you're going to use. Like, what's your actual plan for these things? Same with getting the quotes for the shipping. If you do want to ship, get the quotes first. If you decide to ship, you're going to be doing that by a month or two prior to your move. So it's like the first part of that 6 months is like making those decisions. And then the last part is like, okay, now I'm executing on them. So how are you going to bring your pets if you have them? If you're going to file residency and when, getting that paperwork together, cleaning out, like start downsizing now. Like even if you're years out from your move, just get rid of stuff. Just, it always feels so good. Just get rid of it. Get rid of it all. Makes you feel lighter.
Great. That's awesome. Well, in that same note, I wanted to hear a little bit about, I know you've discussed, hey, don't bring stuff. You're probably not going to need some of this stuff, but we've also heard from different sources that, some things are easier to get when you're out, like if you're in US and in Canada, rather than trying to buy it there. What would you say are the main things that people should put in their packing list? I know you have also a sheet for that one, but what would you say are the main things like, hey, bring it from there because it's definitely going to be cheaper than trying to do it here. I know cars was one of the things that we mentioned, but in regards to your general things, what would you say are good things for you to bring along with you?
Okay, so maybe like I always order like a special toothpaste from the States. It's that Hello brand. We don't have that down here. So maybe if there's particular cosmetics or skincare, or I even get razors, like all of your toiletries are going to be cheaper up in the US. You can go to Walmart and just boom, boom, boom. I mean, we have Walmart down here, but toiletries are definitely cheaper. Shampoos, I brought those things down, just like personal hygiene stuff. Oh gosh, clothes, to be honest, clothes shopping is way cheaper in the US too. I think it is. So I'll usually like do my daughter's clothes shopping up there. We'll go to Target. So not to say that you can't get something down here if you don't need to. You can get all these things down here. I just find them to be cheaper there. I do my clothes shopping when I'm back. Electronics. So either update them prior to coming or definitely bring them down with you or like buy whatever new you need. So you don't want to be buying electronics down there. Those are really expensive. Maybe any type of like imported. Oh, some people bring their spices and stuff, like special seasonings. So people who really like to cook, bring extra seasonings, specialty equipment, like a coffee grinder even. I know you think we have so much coffee down here. You think you'd be able to find a coffee grinder. There's no coffee grinder down here. I don't know where to find that. So, or like, like a little immersion blender, or, but again, if it's just your average coffee machine, you don't need to Black and Decker coffee machine or rice cooker. We got plenty of those down here. But I would say like, yeah, any specialty products. Specialty.
Awesome, awesome. Question. When it comes to, I know that we discussed medical coverage, and for some of the people actually here on the group listening to us, I know that has been a big question when it comes to medical insurance and how I guess how to set themselves up in a place or in a way. Is there a particular area that you'll say have because better medical coverage? I know we talked about La Caja as an option, but how can we, like somebody that's really concerned about health and health maintenance, where would you, in your experience, recommend for them to look into relocating?
Yes, so when I have people that are a little bit more concerned about their health, maybe I'm gonna want them to be close to the Central Valley area. So I don't have many people that want to like live in San Jose City Center. I have a few. But the majority are gonna want to like who want to be near medical care or maybe gonna want to be in what we call as the Central Valley. So it's the area that's like outside of San Jose. So like Escazú, Santa Ana, Ciudad Colón, Atanas, Grecia, even Belen, Heredia, those areas. So, and I guess it would really depend on how close do you want to be to a hospital, or like to a private hospital. We have SEMA, Clinica Biblica. So if you have like a serious medical condition or you're like, I need to be, I've worked with people that say, I don't want to be any more than 20 minutes from a hospital. And I'm like, okay, well, there's our radius, there's our living radius. And then, like I said, depends what kind of hospital. I do have people who still come to the Central Pacific because they say, okay, it's not too far. Like it's still I mean, I do day trips to San Jose all the time, kind of like it's nothing. And we do have private ambulance services. I mean, we do have now like a 24/7 urgent care, I think here on go. So I think I feel comfortable in this area now with the medical services that are around, that I don't mind being a bit further away. And I know other people don't mind either. So it'll just definitely depend on the person.
Awesome, awesome. Well, let's talk about I guess one of the things that people sometimes miss, and I think it can be a positive thing, but for some it may be something a little more harder to swallow. How about cultural integration? Like how do people that are used to this high move situation get into Costa Rica, and how can they slowly break it down to start living that Pura Vida life? I know it's a process for some people, depending on how and where they're coming from. So, what are your recommendations? Are there any integration groups or groups that they can kind of join through this process? Maybe some expat groups. What would you have to say in that regard?
Totally. Yeah, it's a process. You're learning, I would say, okay, learning the language is really important. And like I'm fluent now. When I first moved here, I didn't know like anything. And I learned just from being around, and it's been 10 years. If I didn't by now, it'd be kind of sad. But some people just like don't have that knack for languages, and that's totally understandable. I still think it's doable to live here, as if you're working on your Spanish. So I would just say work on it as much as you can. Definitely take classes. Don't be scared to communicate, and, use some of the, like, learn the basics. So when you're at the store, when you're trying to communicate, I find that Costa Ricans really appreciate someone who just tries and puts in effort. So I think if you just try and put in the effort, even if it's not correct or if it's minimal, they're going to appreciate that. And I think you're going to have a better experience with people down here too. I would say you definitely need to just let go of that, like things need to be done this way in this time period, exactly like this. I find people that are very rigid will struggle because definitely Costa Rica and other countries in Central America move at their own pace. But a lot of people that I work with do see that as a positive. So I tell people that I kind of moved here not by accident, but I was like, oh, well, I was there. But it ended up for me being a really good cultural fit. I like that there's the slower pace. It actually gives yourself the permission to be a little slow too. I try not to be. I'm usually a very on time person. But for example, I had a plumber that I was trying to get out to come out for like a month. I had a leak and he had actually needed to come out so I could pay him for another job that he did, but he just wasn't coming. He kept telling me from 8 to 12 p.m. and he would never come between 8 and 12 p.m. So those are some things that can happen. Not everyone operates that way, but I would say patience, you need to be very adaptable. Maybe don't get don't always jump to conclusions or try to not get so frustrated so quickly. Just try to go with the flow a little bit. I think you can learn a lot of lessons about yourself and, just life in general. And if you can kind of learn to embrace that, not like go
Awesome.
against it so much.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, and then I guess this last one is a question slash just want to hear a little more on You know, even after all the challenges and all the different things, you know, you go you go with the two bags. That did not the whole full length of the story, so it's great to hear it. But you go with your two bags, you go through all these challenges and hurdles, you stayed. Why? What is it about Costa Rica that you can share with all these guys looking into relocating that made it a place where you wanted to stay and develop your family and grow onto where you are today with your business, and also tell us a little bit about that.
Totally. Yes. So I do always tell people I stayed for a number of reasons. I did have my times where I thought about moving back. So my husband, when I got pregnant, I was just like, God, yeah, how old was I? 24. So I was like 24, 23. I don't remember. 24, I guess. I was like, maybe I need to go back and move back to the United States and go be a normal person again. Like I'm living down here in La La Land. Now I'm gonna have this baby. I'm not prepared for this. I was not making, I was probably living on $500 a month at that point, like to be honest with you. So of course I had a moment of like, maybe I need to go back, but I'm so glad I didn't. I thought about it and I was like, man, I'm gonna get sucked back into that system. All that stuff that I wanted to leave, I'm just gonna get sucked back in and I'm never gonna get back out. Um, so what I really like about down here is, well, obviously the nature. I love the weather all year round. I can be outdoors. I'm a big outdoors person. I love the nature. Um, but I will say like a place can be beautiful, but if you're not surrounded by kind people and like a nice community, for me, what does that really work? So for me, it's the fact that the place is really beautiful, the country's beautiful, but it's the people and the culture for me personally. Because like I could be in a beautiful place, but if I'm surrounded by not so great people or like, it's negativity, then that really just kind of for me, it would just ruin it. But here I just love, I do love the culture. I do love the people. I think there's a lot of learning. And I have so many clients say like, wow, are people like actually always this nice down here? Or they think it was kind of a fluke. And I'm like, no, like people are generally like just really kind down here. So that's for me, and I would say why I stayed. Like the Costa Ricans really value family. They value their family more than they value their job mostly, and I appreciate that. So I feel like they really have their values overall like straight, and I think that they like have things maybe the way that we used to have them back in North America in the past, and I feel like they still have that. They value those things now, so that's why I think it's
Awesome, Sarah. Well, you know, again, I want to thank you very much for your time and for sharing with us your experience. I know you have an event upcoming. What are those dates? Talk to me a little bit about those dates so we can get these guys excited about those event dates. I don't know if you're sold out already for that one, but if you do have any spaces, we'd love to hear.
yeah. I don't know why my pictures won't show up. Let me
You know what
just
it is? I think it might be the connection because sometimes when the connection is coming along, it's just kind of
gotcha.
it
Can you
slows
guys see
it
my
down.
website? Can you
Yes.
guys see my website? Okay. So here's my website. Um, so things that we do is number one is working one-on-one with people. So that could be through a scouting trip. So we work with people designing their scouting trip, like having that hour and a half one-on-one call, learning about that person's hobbies, their lifestyles, what they're looking for, and actually planning out that trip of where they're going to go, where they're going to stay, who are they going to see. You mentioned community. So like through our organization, we have our own sense of community. We get together online once a week on Zoom every Wednesday. In our Zoom meetings, we have people who have already moved, people who are still moving. Actually, this Saturday, we're having a get together down in the Southern Zone, but we did a catamaran tour a few months ago too together. So we do things together, and I never cut anyone off. So like if someone's moved with us, I mean, 5 years later, if they have questions, I'm still going to answer them. So scouting trip's a big one. Sometimes someone will then go from a scouting trip into our full relocation package. So that's when we're planning out their month-to-month plan, working them through all the logistics, connecting them with all the professionals, making sure they're connected with our community that, we have. So that would be scouting trip, working one-on-one. Oh, whenever someone does a scouting trip and then they work one-on-one with us after, I always take what they paid for the scouting trip and I apply it as a discount to our relocation program. So that's kind of cool. And then, like I said, maybe it doesn't make much business sense, but I don't put a cap on it. I'm not like, okay, you get 3 months of help, but then you're out. I mean, you can text us years later and we're still going to answer you. And then I have like a do-it-yourself course. Some people are just very like, no, I'm gonna do this on my own. So that took me years to make, but it's like everything that we would work with you one-on-one on, but you have to watch the modules and, go through the materials and you get to see all my PDFs and spreadsheets and videos. But people who are in the one-on-one still get access to that. conferences. So that's what you mentioned. So I've done 10 events. They used to be a week long. So I've done 10 events. This one's a different format. I'm really excited about it. This is a 3-day event. It's going to be in the San Jose area in Cariati. It's at the DoubleTree Hotel. The conference room is awesome. It's like just it has all this jungle in the background. It's really beautiful. And so February 5th to the 7th. I'm going to do these 3 times per year. The other events I could only do twice a year because taking a whole week for my daughter and it was just kind of a lot. But these are 3 full days for the event. We're going to have a Sunday, like an additional optional activity. So this time we're going to either do the Toucan Rescue Ranch or people can do a real estate tour of the Central Pacific. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, so it's 3 full days. You have all the speakers actually come to the event. It's a mix of keynote speakers, breakout sessions, workshops, kind of vendor fair in the back where each vendor can kind of go to each table, or you can go to a vendor table for 10 minutes each one. I can't sit in a room and listen to someone talk for hours on end. So I'm going to make sure it's very like interactive and fun. We'll have, evening cocktail hours, smoothies or whatever, coffee, can mix with people. So the idea is to be networking, learning, and having fun. So the events are good. You can see like past events that I've done. They've always been a blast. I mean, I've just met the coolest people. I actually had a Christmas party over this last weekend, and this is Pete and Pam. They came to my event last November and they drove all the way from Tamarindo, like 5.5 hours in traffic to come to my Christmas party. So like they actually ended up moving. This other couple, I don't think they moved yet. So yeah, these events are cool. I still have that deal. Or if you ask for the deal, it's the same. But yeah, these are good. So the nice thing about it is, well, the event is come for the 3 days, but then that's it. You take everything you learned and you're on your way. But then some people then will end up working one-on-one with us as well, so they can have that continued support.
Awesome, Sarah. Well, again, thank you very much for your time. This has been amazing information. If you're looking to contact Sarah, feel free to reach out to us directly, or you can reach out to Sarah for some additional information on how to relocate to Costa Rica. We're great partners when it comes to, she does the part of the relocating. We do all the real estate side of things to help you guys through this amazing adventure of moving into the Costa Rican zone. So again, thank you very much for your time. We'd love to see you guys on our next Live and Invest in Costa Rica. We have a new project coming along near the coast, so stay tuned. We'll be sending you some information on that new particular project. And again, remember, Live and Invest is always the second Monday of every month. So we'll be here next second Monday of January, bringing you some new information, new opportunities, and more things for you to move into paradise. So thank you for your time all. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.